Hello, Steve.
Hey, Dan Landrum.
I can see you.
I know this is the first time. This is our first video podcast. And it might be our last or second to last. I don't know.
We don't know. Yeah. Oh, boy. So we're the Dulcimer Geeks. Hi, everybody. And this is going to be a geek session. I act like we have a plan. I don't know that it's going to be a geek session.
You always act like you always say this one's going to be a geeky show or whatever. No, you don't always do that, do you?
I don't always do anything.
But this is, we don't have to apologize. I do want to apologize for my hat, but I didn't want to get my hair done for this. And my face is red because I was near the Tropic of Cancer last week.
I don't like talking about cancer.
But and other than that, I think we're sober. I think we both probably bathed today. I'm not at the same time. But
so this is about everything. Not about everything, but I've had a series of. I've been cut on so much it's unbelievable. Had just a minor kind of thing a while back, 8 weeks ago, and the end of it was supposed to take place yesterday. And I'm not going to get into what that is or what that was. And I went in thinking the doctor was going to go, okay, we're going to do the things we got to do, and you're done and you're clear. And I had an infection, and they're worried about sepsis.
Yeah, so they started you on something.
So they stopped me. They stopped what they were going to do. I got to go back in a week, and I got to do a week of ciprofloxacin or something like that. And the warnings, I ought to read them to you, but I'll just tell you the highlights. First off, it messes with your gut. So that's the main thing. If we have to stop,
you need some Dulcilax. Dulcilax
for sure. Or go just hang out at the Dulceria. Do you know what those are?
It's like where people go to eat? What is it?
No, it's a Mexican candy store.
A dulciteria.
Dulceria. Dulceria.
It's a sweet shop.
Look it up on your looking up thing. Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
I saw them for the first time in California. But here's the weird ones. Here's this antibiotic that it tells you specifically that you can tear your Achilles tendon while using this. And so I heard from a few other people who take it. They're like, take that seriously, because there are people who take this antibiotic who are active. One of the warnings is, be careful if you're an active person. You need to not run. You need to not exercise hard.
Just for the week that you're taking it?
For the week I'm taking it, yeah. But there are people who end up in a wheelchair while taking this thing. So I woke up this morning. My legs hurt. My shoulders hurt. Everything hurt. Gut was weird. Mentally I feel fine. It also says can cause high blood sugar or low blood sugar. You're like, give me a break.
Yeah.
So can playing Hammer Dulcimer.
Well, it can probably help with blood sugar.
Who knows?
The Dulcimer.
Anyway. That, and I'm having hot flashes like I'm going through menopause.
You guys, I gotta listen to this stuff.
Nuts. I'm sorry. Shut up.
He's always telling me this stuff.
Well, you're the only one. You're the only one I can tell it to, except for everybody who's listening right now. Okay, baby. You with that hat on remind me of one of the Chattanooga Dulcimer festivals where Garrett Vigors. Remember Garrett?
Yeah.
Remember him sitting on that old beat-up couch in the Mac before we did all the remodel work?
I think he had a red hat on. Did he have a red hat?
Yeah, and kind of orange-ish red, and he was sitting at the back of the room, kind of halfway awake, halfway asleep, with his arms crossed, I think, like this, with that hat on, and the couch kind of matched it, and somebody took a picture of it, and it was the best picture of all the festival.
I thought of that festival today because Mark Allen Wade and the crew over at the Corn Tune Dulcimer Festival.
Is that Corn Tunes?
Well, I think that's a cool name. Corn, C-O-R-N, Corn Tunes.
That's what I was saying, yeah. Right.
But it's been funny because it's like quarantine, corn tune, which made sense back in the day. But now it sounds like an Islamic religious text festival or something a little bit. But really, as a board
Grunt.
member, I shouldn't admit that some people have been confused about that. That's a different spelling. This is quarantine, like quarantine. Anyway, so the QDF5, we're all trying to figure out who's going to be in the concert for St. Patty's Day. And I thought of you today. And
I turned my name in.
And I was telling Mark, I said, I remember when I first met Dan, and I know I've brought this up with the podcast before, but you just said, look, I want to put you in the show, but only if you want to be in the show. And I'll give you a good amount of time, but you're going to have to be hot. I want you to play hot. I don't want you just sitting there, goofing off for 15 minutes. If you can't be hot for 15 minutes, I give you 5 minutes. And I found that I didn't know you. I was in Circuit City. You were saying all that to me, and I remember thinking, I like this. I guess some people would have been put off by it, but I remember thinking, it's almost like he'll give me a good spot, but I got to tell him I want it, and I'm going to make good use of it, And I was telling Mark today, I personally want to be in the St. Patty's Day concert, but if you need me to audition, or if you want to tell me to step it up a notch, or I'm out, I'm all right with that. I don't know that everybody wants that kind of thing, but I like to rise to the occasion, to make a good show. So thank you for that.
Doesn't it?
I think it helps.
I think, I know we've talked about this before as well, that step it up a little bit too much, and now all of a sudden you're trying to draw attention to yourself, and that can be a problem. And when you're in a club, and we're all basically in a really big club, it's just that some of us are in that club, but we also do this professionally and have to do other things,
Well, not everybody responds to the same types of challenges,
Same what?
The same types of challenges.
Types of challenges. I thought you had a new word there. Okay. No, that's right. We're all different. I mean, but again, we've talked about this. This would be true if we were in a model railroad club, just all that stuff. People, when you get in your clubs and your niches, there's the club ethos, but then if you're making a living at it, there's a different ethos that can kick in. And I like using that word ethos. That's 3 times already in this podcast. I'll probably try to get it in there a 4th time.
That's great. Well, I would like the opportunity to vet your vocabulary before each podcast. That's a word that went around for a while, vet. Everyone was vetting everything.
Right.
What's a I know it sounds like I'm trying to bring it back to Dulcimer. But what's a Dulcimer? I'll tell you a thing I don't like, and I'm not the only one. This Dulcimer, you hear Dulcimer people use this a lot. They talk about string side up. That'll be like a beginner class. Now look, I've taught a string side up class, and
I don't know what that means.
Some of my best friends are offering string side up beginner classes, but that's the problem, Dan. People don't know what it means. String side up is, most dulcimers are string side up. Of course, this would be string side down on the dulcimer, where you're flipping it upside down. So that they're kind of naming a beginner class. They're naming a beginner. It's almost it's playfully, making fun of the fact that as a beginner, you don't even know which side the dulcimer should be pointed to the ceiling. But I don't think beginners get the joke, maybe that's all right. You're not agreeing with me. But what else?
No, I'm not disagreeing.
Is there some other saying something side up other than eggs?
Yeah. Yes.
What?
Let's move on, buddy.
Okay, I don't know what it is, but I am going to trust you on that one and move on. And here's the second phrase people use. I don't think it goes real well. They talk about, so-and-so's paper trained, which means they know how to read music.
They use the bathroom. Oh, it doesn't mean they don't use the bathroom.
No, it means they know how to read music, which I find to be incredibly insulting, As someone who likes to play by ear, improvise, and sight read music, I could tell you if you've worked real hard to read music and you enjoy doing it, you don't want somebody telling you you're paper trained. That one needs to stop, I think.
I think so. And there's so many different degrees of that. I read some. I'm a poor reader.
Yeah, I'm not like the
but
best
I read enough
reader
to
in the world.
I read enough to memorize. Yeah, I would say Mark is probably one of the best readers I've ever seen. Ken Kolodner's that way as well. Both really good readers. I'm a poor reader.
Now,
But I'm a dynamic player.
I think I think we're going too far here because you and I aren't used to looking at each other during a podcast, so it's like I don't even believe we're recording one. But some people will spend all their time telling you what they don't like, what they don't do, what they're not into. I think that's always tiresome. I know I'm doing it right now. But I'd rather hear what you are into, what you do like, what you do like.
All right,
doing,
let's go then. Okay, so here we go. First, and this is out of place, I guess, because we'll either know that this worked or didn't work by the time people see it. This is our first time to try this. We didn't talk to each other about how we were going to execute this today. So we set up very different systems.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how they're going to interface. I'm not sure if the colors are going to match or anything like that. We're sort of ship then test is what we're doing
That's
right
what we're
now.
doing.
That form of marketing. I set up, and let me do this little switcheroony here. See that?
Yeah, that's upsetting. What is that? What is all that?
So that's what I'm standing in front of.
Oh, wow.
This device that I'm moving the cursor in front of now is an ATEM Mini Pro that I got used. It allows me to have 4 cameras coming in, but I'm not using cameras. They're all iOS devices. So they're all phones.
So your iOS devices are plugged into the ATEM?
Yeah.
Well,
they're all iOS devices going into that. No cameras, just phones.
No HDMI
are giving
either.
me images. Well, they're coming in through HDMI.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah, so we could get geekier about that. But
forget about that.
let's see if we can see one. Look, if we go to the one up overhead. All right, see that? See that phone up there?
Yeah.
It's got one of those adapters in it, and in the back of that adapter is a power cord to keep the phone powered and an HDMI out.
You got the Apple camera connection kit for each camera.
Yeah, it's a knockoff version. And if I switch now over to that camera, that's what's coming from that phone up there. And so I'm moving it now.
That's neat. Yeah, you got multiple phones. This is why it's not a bad idea to keep your older phone because you could use it as a
100%.
camera.
Okay, now let's go back to that picture again because I think that's
later on when you edit this. You're going to move me to a smaller box and put me in the corner and zoom in on you. You're going to do all that.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
That's right. You don't.
I don't know. We'll see.
Especially with that new antibiotic. Okay. Anyway.
So I'll just walk you around the room. So here's my Mbira. I'm going to unmute everything.
Mbira. That's the instead of strings, it has like metal rods, but it's a hammer dulcimer kind of.
Kind of. Let me give you an image so you can sort of see what I'm doing.
Now, what's funny is I can't hear that because FaceTime is probably sensing it as noise.
That's right, and I think we need to figure out a way to overcome that. We just haven't done it or haven't even thought about that.
So, but I know what you sound like on an Mbira.
Yeah. And this is what we're trying to do. And then there's this thing.
I'm thinking is that little drums, and is it electronic at all?
It's not electronic. It's acoustic and is the coolest thing ever.
Wow.
And it has, for those who care, I'm going to go back to the image. Let's see, back up here to this one. It has stereo mics over it that I set up, and I kind of modified it to have mics. The Mbira has 2 pickups in it, one left side, one right side, so you get a nice stereo feed from that. And then there's turn a couple of these things off here. I've got a little buzz in that Mbira channel, so I got to figure out what that is. Here's my hammer dulcimer, and it's this traditional, not a funny word to be using I've got two AKG 414s on it. One on the right side, one on the left side, close mic.
Those are two large diaphragm pattern large diaphragm pattern selectable condenser microphones. I
have them set to hypercardioid, if anyone is wondering. And from here, you can kind of also see the camera when I showed the Imbira is this one up here. The camera that's overhead is there. And then look at this one. This is one of my favorites. This is when I'm trying to show people hammer technique. So you can get right down on
yeah, your new hammers. I need to score a pair of those. And that you're also playing a carbon fiber hammer dulcimer that tends to stay in tune even when the temperature shifts.
Right. I have no heat up here where I live. So it shifts. I mean, it's cold in the morning. And it holds pretty well. I did a quick touch on it for the first time in probably a month yesterday, and it's still in pretty good shape. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Anyway, so that's what's happening there.
Rosetta.
It's Rosetta. It's Sam Rosetta's, yeah. And then what you can't see, which I hate, I'm going to switch over to this one again for a minute. This thing that I'm touching over here, and I'm not going to get into this stuff this time. I've got some really cool electronic stuff that's going on. And so in another video, not in this video, I want to demonstrate how this interacts with this. And this little iPad you see up here is set up for Loopy, for running Loopy Pro. So I'm really excited about where my musical world is going.
Well, let me summarize
Can't wait to
everything
share.
so far. You want everything all the sound to be able to come to one place so you can get it all sounding really good. And you have this loopy thing allows you to create loops on the fly where some of these looper pedals, I know they're all different, but you hit record and you just start laying down layers. This thing is a little more intelligent and particular about how it does all that, I guess.
Yeah, but for your benefit, Steve, and I know if no one else is interested, I'm sorry, we'll get better. We probably won't, but
we're not going to get better.
I have these two 414s, the large diaphragm microphones, plus the pickup of the Rosetta going into the Behringer XR18, and then I EQ there. And
it's a digital mixer. It's like having a big studio, but it's all in a little box, the exact size of a loaf of Wonder Bread.
Yeah, big Wonder Bread. So I take those three channels for this instrument in particular and then mix them within that mixer down to two channels. So I just have a stereo feed and then send that into the Zoom L6 Max. Okay, so I've got one mute button. I can mute the thing, right? So, and then I do the same thing for, what's the other one that I do that way? Yeah, for the Imbira is set up that way. The Imbira, I go there and I mix it because it needs some specific treatment, to make it sound like I want to. And you have a lot of control as to how you can make it sound within that. So I get my mix on it right, send that out a bus, and send that in as well.
Yeah.
Now my microphone goes directly into the L6. What should I call that to make it easy? I'll call it the live track. I'll call it the L6.
What?
Because
I forget what the L6.
Well, here's the problem.
Oh, it's that mixer.
Zoom. It's a Zoom live track.
Yeah, but everyone
L6
thinks
Max.
Zoom is who does the meetings.
Right. So I don't want to say the word Zoom, but Zoom makes it.
It's the
L6 Max.
It's this little magical mixer. It's this little
that gets its power, through USB. It's very nice. It's super lightweight. It's crazy efficient. Not going to do a commercial on it, but it's unbelievably. It's like a Swiss Army knife in a little bitty box.
But you're working towards
being able to go anywhere and do whatever I want to, with very little power consumption needed. But people have seen me play before, and I don't have it in here because I've actually taken it apart. That thing that looks like a pizza box that I play that creates all those weird sounds. It's a drum.
Yeah. It's a membrane.
It's a membrane, yeah. But you're still physically playing it. It's not MIDI. I'm working towards having all these instruments, including this acoustic drum here. These are just pieces of wood do the same thing as I'm getting out of that.
You know, there are little boxes where you can convert the electricity coming from your membrane into a control voltage that you can then bring in to an audio interface and convert it in the computer into MIDI messages, which we've just never talked about doing that.
We haven't, and yeah, I was about to unplug something and show it to you, but it doesn't matter. We'll do more as we geek out.
It's important to tell everybody. You might think, well, Dan's sure excited about all this stuff. Is he showing off? And I want to say he's excited because he usually lives in a very lonely world of trying to figure out how all this works and try to make music with it. And so now I think you're excited because you are coming to the world with your your private jam
with really. With the stuff that's made me excited for a long time. So I've said this before, and I know you've heard it, but there's a YouTube channel coming and some other stuff coming. I'm down in the final. It's a little more complicated than I thought it would be, and without telling the whole sad story, I'm going to end up not really having the space that I'm in within a matter of months. And I might have to live in a smaller space. I might have to live in the Airstream if I haven't sold it. Hey, podcast listeners only. We've got an Airstream. I've got an Airstream.
For sale?
For sale.
Does it leak?
Can we do this on here? No, it's beautiful. It's in great shape. It's a 2018. It's in perfect condition. It's luxury. It's maxed out. If you bought it new today, it'd cost you about $180,000. It's only a 2018. We haven't been able to sell it. I live in a spot where I just can't keep it near me. I can't show it. I've shown it on Facebook a couple of times and haven't had anybody close enough that anybody could look at it. Everybody may know I'm going through a divorce. I hate to bring the bummer in about that, but got to get rid of assets and all that. I wasn't crying. That was just a burp, by the way.
You totally look like you're crying.
I know. I'm not. I'm okay. My head is good. But, man, if we could get... And this is nuts. If we could get as close as possible to $70,000 for that thing right now, it would make a huge difference on clearing medical data and some stuff like that. So spread the word if you're interested in any way. I'm easy to contact. It's
Dan. But these people we know, Dan, what is it? Dan what? What's your email?
Dan.landrum@gmail.com.
Dan.landrum@gmail.com. So we know so many RVers, and I know so many of them like to get these RVs where the sides pop out and give them extra room.
Yeah, and those are nice, and you can get those for $40,000 to $50,000 cheaper than this.
But Airstream,
this is very luxurious.
And they're solid, right? These things aren't falling apart going down the road.
They don't leak.
You know, I look
with an F. Wait. You can pull it with an F-150. You know,
my son said he needs an F-350. What does he want? An F-1, an F?
Yeah,
I forget. But here's the thing.
Okay, I want to get back to music really quick.
No, wait, we can't do that. We're talking about RVs now.
Okay. Well, this setup that I just showed you. Let me say this. The work that I put into this is to make it fit in the Airstream if I have to live in it.
Oh, yeah.
So I made this configuration, the physical setup that I'm dealing with here, compact. So I've got a full workstation I can stand up, and I stand up and work and stand up and play. So anyway, that's it. Now,
if you've ever seen, I went to the Smithsonian, and they had, you can see these early capsules where astronauts went into space where they sit like this.
No, it's awful.
Yeah, but that's what your setup looks like to me. It's almost, but there's a little more room than that.
Yeah.
But it still looks like a spaceship.
It is. It feels like a spaceship. It's a control panel.
Well, and some people would say you don't need all that.
100% I don't need all that, but I want this. It's what I've been working on for years. It's what excites me. And my goal... if you think about this, hardly anyone goes up to a microphone to sing without having some reverb on their voice, right?
A little bit. It sounds like they're in a room, but it's artificially made. Yeah,
it's artificially made, and if they didn't have that, you'd go, "Wow, that other person sounds better than them." It's because Reverb makes us sound better. And hardly anyone plays a mountain dulcimer or a hammer dulcimer or anything through a sound system without equalizing it, without saying, hey, this tone doesn't sound as good as that one, and that pickup in that makes it sound bad at 400K, so turn that down, and you're making all these adjustments. When you get to an electric guitar, heaven forbid, or a mountain dulcimer with pickups on it, and you play it through something, I don't know if you have your rig all set up, you might want to have a little bit of tremolo on there. You might want to have, there's all these things. Yeah, there's all these phasers and shifters and cool stuff. You are still playing acoustically. You're just sculpting the sound before it comes out the other end. All this is my sculpting station. I'm not creating some MIDI electronic workstation. I'm still playing with my hands and hammers.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes this is something people say just to connect. They're not trying to be mean, but they'll say something like, well, why don't you just play a guitar, Dan, or a keyboard? Why, if you're going to have a hammer dulcimer, why did I just go into a southern, but I'm from the South.
But look, I got a keyboard. Look, I got a keyboard right here, see? So sometimes I'll use the keyboard. But the instrument I'm best at? Hammer dulcimer.
It's interesting that we hear those comments a lot, and like I said, I think they're often said to get a chuckle, but it's a weird thing because, like, if you start doing something, let's say you start to leave dulcimer, and you got all into, I don't know, whatever. Let's say you got into big those saltwater aquariums, and that's all you were doing. You're like, I don't do dulcimer anymore. My heart's a little broken in a little bit of a way. It's like I kind of need you to keep doing dulcimer. I mean, we're all like that with our heroes a little bit, or our friends,
I don't know.
No, what do you mean you don't know? And
no, I don't know about being anybody's hero. Aim higher if I'm a hero.
Well, but we clearly,
Yeah.
But I think that it's not uncommon for someone to just say, I think you should. A hammer dulcimer should. I've even heard people say they shouldn't have damper pedals. They shouldn't have this. They shouldn't have that. But I don't want to be saddled by somebody else's idea about what they think I should be doing. I mean, here's the thing. I always say this. You can't. If you're going to play music this much, you kind of. I think it'd be real hard to fake it and do what you don't like completely, just so that somebody over here is okay with you now or something. Like it's
Steve,
talking about hours of playing a day, maybe.
Yeah.
You're depressed now. Is it the antibiotic?
No, I'm tempted. Well, I don't need. I'm afraid of making this too personal, but it was 1 year ago, my friend.
Yeah.
That you talked me out of just quitting.
Oh, you were going to quit music?
I'm comfortable reading this. If you, this is dulcimer specific. You want to hear it?
Dan is on medication today, so please let's all just give him
been on medication forever.
A little bit of a benefit.
Steve's my good friend, and I ran this by Steve, but I think it's appropriate for what we're doing right now.
It was a year ago.
It was a year ago. I was a year ago about last week. Here, are you ready?
No.
For over 25 years, I've shared my passions for music, photography, and storytelling with a community that's become like family. Many of you have come to know me through my work as editor of Dulcimer Players News, through workshops and performances around the world, or even through the Dulcimer Geek podcast. Some of you may know me from my time touring as a soloist with Yanni. Regardless of where we first connected, what matters most to me is the relationships we've built along the way. You are not just friends or supporters, you are family, and that connection has sustained me through every high and low. In recent years, I've had to face some tough truths. Recovering from prostate cancer has been a long journey, one made harder by the depression I faced, something I've not spoken about publicly before now. This has been unfamiliar territory for me. I've always been someone whose emotional highs and lows were moderate, but this time it's different. The added pressure I've placed on myself to return to teaching and creating at full capacity while also making a living through my art has taken its toll. The reality is, what I'm doing now isn't working. Remember, this was 1 year ago, Steve. It's dulled the joy I once felt in creating, and it's left me feeling more disconnected than I'd like to admit. That's why I'm making a change, a risky one, but I know it's necessary. I'm stepping into semi-retirement, which for me means untethering my creative work from the need to generate income. I'm actively looking for part-time work near home, something steady that will free me to explore music, writing, and photography, purely for the joy they bring. This isn't about running away, it's about running better, about finding a pace that allows me to enjoy the race once again. I'm not disappearing, and I'm not leaving behind the relationships we've built. On the contrary, it's those relationships that give me the courage to make this leap. Your kindness, support, and belief in me have been my lifeline, and I'll always be grateful for the way you've stood by me. As I embrace this new chapter, I hope to continue sharing with you, but in ways that feel more authentic and less constrained by obligation. Whether through music, photography, or reflections on life, I'll still be here, connecting with you, my friends, in ways that truly matter. Thanks for walking alongside me. This is a new path, and it's not without uncertainty, but I'm hopeful that will lead to a place where creativity and connection thrive. Here's to running better and finding joy in the race. Now,
what did you mean when you said art? You said I'm disconnect from the making of the money from music and pursue my art.
Photography, it's kind of this stuff that I'm working on right now. What I do when I pull it all together. Like creating videos, anyway, just art in general. So I don't know if I'm answering the right question.
So, like you're not wanting to worry about whether it's going to pay the bills. You're making art for art's sake, and you're following your heart on that.
For joy's sake.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now, couple things happened since then. First, I ran it by you, and you talked me out of sharing it.
What in the world did I say?
You did. You said, I was in the process. You said, why don't you, because remember I'd said I kind of probably wasn't going to participate in the quarantine stuff just because of all the other things that were going on. And you got me to do one. I'm like, oh, that was kind of fun. So I held off and I did that and I did another. And but then the cancer came back with a vengeance and the numbers started doubling all the time.
And we thought you were in the
middle of that.
Imminent. We thought it was imminent.
Yeah. And this is too personal to share here, but it's my life, man. My wife left me in the middle of all that because of all the changes. And so my cancer numbers were going up and I found myself alone. And a lot of stuff happened, and it was hard. A lot of medical bills, just a lot of things. It was a tough year. It's all, I'm by myself now. My cancer's under control. Still, dealing with some remnants of it, but I'm going to make it.
So, it looks like you're going to make it.
It looks like I'm going to make it. Everything's good. And now I'm taking that resolution that I came to as a musician. I'm trying to pull this now back to what you said earlier about, you ought to just do this. No, I not ought to just do that if it's not bringing me joy anymore. You ought to do what makes you happy.
Well, but we all know that's a dangerous slide right there. You should consider strongly doing what makes you happy.
Well, I mean, if you're doing stuff that makes you unhappy for a long time, what kind of life is that? You
can split the difference. Yeah, and
maybe.
And if you wanted to set McDonald's on fire and that makes you happy,
I don't want to do that.
We don't want you to do that.
No. Okay, let me rephrase that. What promotes well-being of yourself and others?
Mm-hmm.
And isn't harmful? That's a given in anything I say because that's my base.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let your art become boxed into something that everyone else expects it to be, because I think you'll get stuck, and it will cease being fun. Now, people may still show up to see you because you're interesting to watch. You've got all these songs that maybe things they want to learn. You can still be a good teacher. I'm not saying everybody should go nuts and do something new, but I got into this from the same reason that you talked about that saltwater aquarium. I know when Steve was talking about the saltwater aquarium, he was talking about himself, because you're somebody who all the time is going, I think I'm interested in this now. And so you'll deep dive into it. Like if I wanted to know something about a saltwater aquarium right now, you're the person I'd call. Same thing about tea. Same thing about ham radio. And I won't name all the other ones that I know about. But you kind of became an expert on a lot of these things.
Well,
And
in my own
those
mind.
things. Well, yeah.
But anyway.
Okay. But when you were going through some tough times, those other interests helped sustain you, even if they didn't necessarily make you wealthy. They were just part of you staying alive and being happy and
That's
interested
right.
in things.
I think what I was worried about with you is that what I've noticed with teaching, when if I haven't taught, the longer I go without teaching, I really forget how good it is for me to teach. Because let's say you go through 3 or 4 months of, and then all of a sudden I teach, even if it's online, I get off and I am so full of energy and fire. And I always say, man, I forgot how much I like doing that, So sometimes when your friend says they're going to give up saltwater aquariums, you're like, well, how about you just take a break? Why don't you just, because you might, who knows? I mean, but I think you did the right thing.
I never shared that. What I read to you just then, I never shared. And it was so funny. It just popped up as I was cleaning up some notes.
Oh, you didn't post that, but you sent it to me.
No, I never shared that. This is the first time I've ever shared that.
But you sent it to me.
In that I sent it to you, and that's it.
That's crazy.
You were the only other person that ever. And I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to Steve because this feels scary. And then other stuff happened, with the cancer kicking up again and all that. So I'm like, there's no time to be making.
I think you've done pretty well with all of it. I mean, my goodness.
I do have, just so you know, I've got tomorrow, I'm all set up. I've got a student. Her mom is driving her down from Capitola tomorrow, so I am teaching again.
But in spite of the craziness of cancer and all the trouble that comes from maybe family struggles, can't you just play the kind of dulcimer I want you to play? Do you have to go on and do it your way? Why can't you just do it my way, Dan?
I'm not for you, if that's the way, right?
Well, we're here to share and be in community.
Yeah, well, I'm sharing what I do. I don't have to, if you bring something to the potluck I don't like,
the thing to do
is just don't eat it.
Like Dan
doesn't have to go up to the person and go, I don't like your soup.
Dan doesn't drink sodas because he gets a migraine.
Well, no, I don't like them.
Yeah, but they give you migraines. The sugar does, I thought.
They make me sick. I've never had a soda in my life. Yeah.
But you had one, right? Or you just suspect?
I tasted it. I've never had a soda in my life. I've just tasted it.
There's some part of me that's like, can't you just drink a soda, Dan? It's just a soda. Isn't that funny how people are? We all are like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Well.
But I don't know. I think we have to be careful about our art. There is a chance. Always a chance. If I told you, Steve, you know what I think I want to do now? I really feel like my art is standing on one leg and quoting, quoting Descartes. That's what I think I'm going to do because I really feel like that's my life. I feel like that's what I'm drawn to. I'm going to starve to death if I do that. I'm not, that's not what I'm saying.
We've seen so many. You have
to be practical sometimes.
We've seen so many. I think who was it? Magic Johnson or somebody, or I forget who, but there were some sports people that would retire, and then they came right back, and that's happened so many times over the decades that we all kind of laugh now when people retire. It's like, well, why don't you just do whatever you think you need to do today? But I guess in the sports world, you got to kind of leave the team or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the cancer world gets you thinking existentially.
Yeah, I can't relate to that.
And I'm wearing this Hammer Dulcimer Rendezvous T-shirt. Super smart lady that I met there talked about. There's this point that people get to when they think they're dying, where you come to peace with it. Especially if you've had a good life, and I've had a really good life. So you come to peace. You're like, oh, it's okay. Let's just have fun. And then there's a weird thing that happens when you find out you're going to survive.
Yeah.
It's a weird headspace that you get back into, and it's not easy. because you've sort of accepted what's going to happen. So you're like, okay, and you hope that you didn't come when you were in that other phase, you went, let's go use all the credit cards because nobody could get me, nothing like that. It's just that you come to peace. You recognize what the rest of life is going to be like, and then it's fairly limited. Now I'm in this place where I'm rediscovering the pure joy and possibility of meeting new people. And I may have already met that person. Who knows? And doing things with my instrument that I always thought, if I was doing what I wanted to do, it's this thing that puts me in that flow zone, when I'm practicing in the morning, where I feel like I could write a song every day. And I think some of it's pretty good, not all of it. I want to go back and listen to it. So this process for me has been embrace that and then start to present it and then see if there are people who want to learn how to do it. Some of this technical stuff in here, it's not going to be for everybody, but it does cross fields. It crosses mountain dulcimer and hammer dulcimer and mandolin and percussion. We're in a new era where people are really accepting looping as a legitimate art form. As long as it stays interesting and makes good music. Also accepting sound sculpting as a new art form. And I think we're also going to be up against people having AI create music. And I believe that there will be, this is just a guess on my part, but I think there will be a bit of a pushback to people who are really creating music themselves. It's not that it uses electronic stuff, because people do that all the time. As I said, like with reverb on your voice. You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I don't agree with all of it, but I kind of wonder about everything you're saying. Yeah.
Well, tell me what you agree or don't agree with. Both.
Well, look, it could. We don't know what's going to happen exactly. But I like to think that the AI is going to find, artificial intelligence is going to find it's going to settle into what we really enjoyed using it for. This is the best case scenario. And then people, not everyone, but a good number of people might start craving things. Like, I always think of fiber arts when I say this. This is so weird, but I could see in my mind someone making yarn, dyeing yarn, like feeling, doing, using, making, and being in front of someone who's doing that. I think that might, at some point, and I don't think it's too far off, I think people might start to get thrilled with it. There's a lot of young people. I just got my daughter a cassette Walkman,
really?
with two, and I got her a bunch of cassettes, Luther Vandross, I got all kinds of stuff. Mannheim Steamroller. I got all these cassettes. Because there's a feeling.
Right.
When you sit in front of someone who's working at a blacksmith shop, not everybody enjoys that, but I think there's a really cool feeling of being right there. And then they say, "Here, hold the hammer. Feel how that feels," and you go, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." Part of me, my hope is that AI is going to drive all of us to appreciate that kind of thing even more. That's my hope. I know it could go all really terrible.
Yeah, but are you talking about by making it easier for you to do the analog, or by making people react to the digital so that they crave the analog?
My hope is that people will start to crave human-to-human experiences where somebody's creating or making or doing something that, for the person receiving it, it feels exciting. It seems interesting. And at some point, are we just going to all keep looking at our phones endlessly? No, I feel like at some point, like cigarettes, I keep thinking that, I don't see people smoking cigarettes anymore. I know it's happening, but, we finally seem to have kind of moved on from cigarettes, although it's never perfect. But well, when are we going to move away from, like me last night, just watching YouTube videos about pedal steel and lap steel players, like for 2.5 hours. Some of that's good, but it's like, man, I wonder, and maybe I make all this up in my mind. These kids they're going to crave some good stuff. And of course, I'm presuming that just getting stuff on TikTok, maybe I'm saying that's not the best stuff.
Yeah, okay, but I'm gonna bring it back to where I was before. How would a pedal steel instrument sound without electricity?
Well, I'm not saying get rid of electricity. I'm saying
No,
AI.
I'm asking you the question. How
Oh.
would a pedal steel? How would it sound without
Well,
electricity?
you'd
How
have
would
to
it
have an
fit in a band?
acoustic one, yeah. But
Right, but even then, it would be a little hard to make it cut and have the kind of sustain and the all the stuff that you can
well,
get
it's
out
a
of the
it's a
pickup side.
strange instrument in that before 1900 it existed, and over in Hawaii, these instruments with pickups, electricity, it was part of the deal very early on. So yeah, that's something that's been electric for a long time.
So if you think back to the, because buddy used to carry one of these things around, B3s,
Yeah.
with the rotating cones on it.
Magnets or whatever. Oh, you mean the
Well,
speaker, the Leslie,
the big speaker, yeah,
the
the Leslie
horn,
that
the
went around.
rotating horn.
So you
or
got
whatever.
whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
What the audience heard. If you can do that electronically now, and you like that sound, do that electronically now. You don't have to go. Well, no, I have to go through the burden of carrying 400
Like I
pounds
go to
into
the
hall.
dentist and he's got modern tools and he's gonna numb my gums, and then
Yeah.
I go, hey, why don't you just do that the old way, buddy? I don't want any of these new. Everyone draws a line on what they kind of need
Right.
and what they want.
That process of discovery with music is what got us the electric guitar and so much cool music, and then amazing musicians who play it in tasteful ways. It's not all about shredding. I mean, look at the work that John Mayer's done. It's unbelievable. He's just so good. I mean, all the fields, I'm not going to just start naming names, but in all the fields, people experiment. And there are some people who say, you shouldn't be doing that. That's not the tradition. And there are people who create new traditions, and I'm one of those.
Yeah,
And it may not work.
yeah, and I think it's important when somebody says some of that. What they really mean is, right now they don't really like what you're doing, and that's fine. You want to. I like that some people like what I do and others don't, and some people are undecided. I like that. That's a beautiful, robust nature of being an artist. And if I can make whatever I want, the consumer can sure consume whatever they want. That's fine. But isn't it funny though? For you maybe feel that you're doing so many strange things, which I don't think are all that strange if you hear the end result of it. It's pretty cool, but you feel like you're doing things that go against the grain. Remember at Everett, there was that woman that came up to you and said, I really want to make sure that people don't forget the old songs and the old ways. And you were saying to her, what did you tell her? I remember.
I don't remember.
You
But I
said,
remember who you're
look,
talking to.
we've got a lot of people doing that, holding on to these older ways and things. And I support those people, but I kind of have these more modern things I'm interested in. You were trying to be sweet and respectful.
I remember that lady now. Yeah. Everett's an interesting place because it's like it's the bastion of tradition in some ways. But it's kind of changed and opened up throughout the years.
The first
Because
person who
change
played with
happens.
hammers that I've been able to read a lot about was the guy who they kind of consider the father of klezmer music. He had something like laid out like a hammered dulcimer, but it had like
interesting. Yeah.
it had like wooden. I'm gonna have to read the account again, but like wooden pieces that you would hit, and he would go to
Yeah.
these stages in Vienna back in, I forget if this was 1700s or when this was, but he would assemble this instrument on stage, I think on a pile of hay, and then just play the fire out of it. And I
that's
think
wild.
it's what led to isn't the Jewish music played on like a hammer dulcimer as well?
Well, you're thinking of klezmer music. Yeah. I mean,
It's like
Yeah, I
maybe
don't know the
that
history
started on
behind
a non-stringed instrument laid out like a hammer
Yeah.
dulcimer. I don't know.
I suspect the oldest stuff is Chinese. on the yawning shed.
There's
but
so
I
many
don't know for
things
sure.
you
Who
gotta.
knows? Yeah.
But do you feel too weird sometimes for the Dulcimer world? That's such a.
I don't really have feeling. I don't have feelings like that. I just don't know. For me, I enjoyed so much. I've met so many people that are my friends forever through the Dulcimer world. So I got nothing bad to say. It's just that what I'm hoping is that there will be some interest in really sharing, some of the newer ways that I'm approaching and treating this instrument.
You've always done that ever since I met you.
I know it's a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Circumspect comes to mind, but that doesn't make any sense. The only way this is going to work is for like next week for me to demonstrate something, or if that's cool. I would love to.
That's a good idea.
Have 5 minutes just to play something and go, look, this is what I'm doing.
Well, we could both do that. And let me go ahead and sum up.
I know.
Let me sum up what I've got here, my whole system.
Okay.
I've got this Mountain Dulcimer from Terry McCafferty. I have a seat belt on. I have a tuner. It's a tuning fork. I hit it on my knee. I put it on the instrument. It produces an A. It's a great way to tune. Listen to this. This is cool.
Yeah, it pulls that thing in.
I have these little clip-on mics that record internally, and they send the sound wirelessly to my computer. And I've got one clipped down here on the strap. I don't know if that's optimal, but that's where it's at now. And I've got one clipped here on my shirt. And I have these Fender medium picks, and I've been using the rounded corner and not the pointy tip. I think it's got a cooler sound. I have a McCafferty capo, and I think I can get a lot done with that. But everybody should know, Dan has gotten me to buy a lot of the stuff he's playing with, and I go through these waves, Dan. Sometimes I'm just sticking to the acoustic, and then other times I have to drive myself into the space and like the astronaut stuff.
All right, I'm pushing back, buddy. Some of my explorations are because of you. Yeah. Steve has pushed me to try some things. I mean, you've got a broad range of musical interests all the way out to the noise genre.
People would be surprised if they knew everything I did, because I always say I've been doing this. I know I did. I started when I was 16 with the Dulcimer, and probably by the time I was 19, 20, I was doing it a lot. And so I'm 52, I think, right now. That you can't play Dulcimer with as much enthusiasm as I have. Enthusiasm. You can't do it this long, this intensely. Personally, I can't, without going through little seasons of variation. Like every 18 months. I think I go through an 18-month cycle, the Irish cycle, the electronic music cycle, the traditionalist cycle, the world zither cycle. I mean, I recently took that lesson from the woman in Norway on the Langelek. And yesterday I was, the night before, Heather and I went down to meet this Hungarian Dulcimer builder who's also a Citra builder. I go through these phases, dude. I mean, and that's why, like, when you said you were getting ready to move into a new phase, I'm like, well, what if you just did that phase for 3 months and then do that every 18 months or something?
Well, okay. But here's the thing. This type of setup is really complex, and you have to work with it enough so that it feels simple to your brain.
It becomes one big instrument.
It is an instrument. Thank you. But that doesn't mean I don't have another instrument that I don't go to, because I do. Down to the beach with one peg leg and sit down on a log and entertain myself and other people by playing, heaven forbid, I'll Fly Away and Rocky Top and Ode to Joy and Turkey in the Straw and all the O'Carolyn pieces I know and just all that stuff.
The peg leg's on your instrument, not you.
Depends. I keep the camera up high so you can't tell these days. Nothing's fallen off yet. But yeah, no, I still do all that stuff. My point is I'm going to start to present the other stuff, and I'm doing it from, I'm trying to overcome my fears of people, of partly that reaction you said earlier of like, people are just going to not like it if you don't do the traditional stuff.
I know what it's like to not be liked. I play a mountain dulcimer. I mean, if you go into a non-dulcimer audience, one of the best examples would be something like a state park type, not state park, a state fair. And you have a little stage. And some people that wander by are really excited about it, have all kinds of questions. And other people, they just go, no thanks. And you see it in their face, you feel it. And I think, I don't get that. Dulcimer players don't feel that much at a dulcimer festival because everybody's into dulcimers. But I know what it's like to play dulcimer for someone who says to me afterwards, I don't get it. They just say, I don't get it. It's like, well, I'll try to do a better job next time. But
this is a legit question. Do you recall when you described being at the fair, with the little stage that's put on a flatbed trailer, they built some kind of a log cabin thing on it, but you've seen it a dozen times and we've all played many of those things. Part of my attraction to this instrument was that feel. I just love that feel. People would come along and they'd go, what is that? How is it? How do you play it? Where do you get it? And all that. Does that happen as much anymore? Or does, the people walking around staring at their phones, which we all do, has that diminished people experiencing things real time?
I don't know that you and I have data on that. To quote you earlier earlier today. I think we wonder. Someone will come along and tell me, well, I can tell you. These kids are all just looking at their phones all the time and it's all over. And I'm sympathetic to that possibility, but I think, I keep thinking as I get older, I know you get wiser supposedly as you get older. I don't know if that's true, but it does feel like I'm losing, my sense of awareness is becoming funneled down a little bit. And if I'm not careful, I'll keep on living as if I have this wide awareness of what's going on, when really I'm getting a little bit of a tunnel vision. I'm not hanging out with teenagers at all. I don't know what they're doing.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Well, maybe, yeah. But I mean, I don't know. And so it's hard to say. I've had some experiences which, make me wonder, but I really think
I tell you,
people like cool stuff. And I think dulcimers are cool. Not everybody's going to be into it, but enough people will. I mean, it won't go away. These dulcimers, they don't seem to run off easily.
Yeah, but there's an old guy that I mentioned him before as I fed away down at the Monterey Fisherman's Wharf. If you could take him, the age he is now, and take him back to the Tennessee Aquarium, where I did tons of playing and just really learned how to play, he would be making in that day so much money because he's interesting. He's got a nice voice. He's a super friendly guy. He improvises songs.
Plays
a lot of different instruments. This is a guy. He's an old guy. I should probably do some video and share it since we're starting to do video here in Monterey. And he plays down there. If I go down there tomorrow afternoon, he'll be out there playing. And I sometimes go down and sit in with him and play.
Oh, yeah. I heard him. He plays a Dusty Strings piano dulcimer.
No, he's not. No, he's not a dulcimer player.
But there is a guy that plays in Seattle. Actually, never mind.
That's Seattle you're thinking of. Yeah. No, this is an older black guy. He's got to be in his late 70s. Plays guitar and plays a pan drum and has a bunch of hand drums and stuff around. And just a super sweet peace love guy, and improvises, and he sings and he does all this stuff. And I look at what he does, and hardly anyone is carrying cash around anymore.
Oh, yeah.
That's just, how it's all changed. I think
they're all doing Venmo, these performers are.
Right. Now, it just doesn't feel the same. You don't, to walk up and throw some money in somebody's case. That's an analog thing, right? It's some of those things have changed. I'm talking like the old guy now. But when I go and sit in with Azai, the experience is still the same for me. I take a hammer dulcimer down there or a drum down there, and we just have a great time. And I don't know, that stuff still exists. Get out and
It does.
play.
And I've saw a couple weeks ago. I saw a bossa nova player. He was playing like Spanish nylon string guitar, and he was singing in Brazilian and doing all that bossa stuff. Really amazing music. And he had that little thing you scan with your phone. And I didn't have any cash on me. But in the old days, it wouldn't be unusual for me to give $1 or $2 to a performer. Maybe more, but usually not. But because I was able to use Venmo, I think I sent the guy $10. I was like, well, shoot, he's worth $10. I've been listening to him for a half hour. Yeah. So maybe people are getting a little more money. I mean, it's just the way that is now. What are you going to do about it?
Right. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? Have a cash machine there. And even that, well, you're losing 1.5% or 3% depending on how it works. So, nah. But we're talking like old people now.
It's funny.
And it's funny. Yeah, here I am defending traditionalism while at the same time doing something that's very non-traditional. But, buddy, I'm doing it with traditional skills. I'm taking these traditional skills and running them through a grinder of sorts and saying, what can I make come out on the other end that's my sound? I've been doing it for a long time. Now I'm saying, okay, what do I think out of what I'm doing could I bring down and present it to people and find out? Maybe they go, that's pretty cool. I'd buy that. That's the albums I want to do.
It's really cool. I've noticed with younger people on YouTube, there's some creators out there that love getting hold of some old VHS tape camcorder, and they will make movies with camcorders. And then they find some old VHS editing setup, and now they're editing VHS to, and they're talking about Betamax versus VHS, and they're under 20. To them, that's an old-timey thing.
Yeah, there were 2 beta machines for free at the Last Chance Mercantile down the road from my house the other day. I'm like, there's no way.
I mean, electricity's fairly old-timey now. Like, and even to the point of da 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 da. Morse code is very old-timey now, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I don't know that, like, you said sound sculptures are kind of a modern music that's being accepted. It's like, the woman who created the music to Doctor Who for the BBC used synthesizers. That's a long time ago.
Right.
When was that? The 50s or 60s?
Long time ago. That's all I know.
That's some old-timey business there. Old-timey. But all of this falls to the wayside when you go, look, Dan, he may have just escaped death's door. And he's asking himself, how am I going to...
No, I didn't completely.
I know all of us are going to die, but you're going, what do I eat today? Who do I talk to today? Am I going to play music? And if so, on what? And how am I going to do it? Now, whether or not that's interesting to anybody, you almost have to ignore that to some extent.
Can I? It's not correct, but can I move the needle on that just a little bit?
Yeah.
Music has been, I mentioned this already, this will be the 3rd time. Music has been my padding through all of this stuff. Some of it has been music that I just love to listen to. Some of it has been music that I just love to make. That puts me in that zone, in that flow state that's better than any kind of addiction anyone could ever have, to me.
It's a really good feeling.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if some of that might also be interesting to other people. That's
the real thing. If you sat there and were able to play music completely in your mind, but get to that flow state, and and then what you have a whole symphony going on inside your mind, and you end up picking up 2 wooden spoons, and you just start, maybe all the world sees is the wooden spoons part, but they don't realize this sonic wilderness that's raging inside you. That's true. We live in community. I always believe you give art legs to heal people when it happens in community, but there's also a time for going to the cave.
Right. Ooh, I like to record in a cave.
Well, that's a possibility. I think it's funny we've done this whole show and we're not gonna play anything. I know you're getting ready to say we're time. Over. Yeah. You always do that.
I have to go pick up children.
You're also on this antibiotic, but I want to say this real quick about our theme song.
No.
I'm willing.
Oh, okay.
I'm willing. To take what we've already recorded, and I would like to see if there's any room in the mix for me to actually play a melody. I just want to play, what is it?
You do. You forget there's a whole section with you playing melody.
I think I'm going.
We just don't. Nope. That's just the background.
Yeah, but I'm doing that on
a
Ron Ewing chromatic Dulcimer.
Yeah, were you when you recorded that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was using a piano dulcimer when I recorded my part. That's funny.
It's Steve, hammer dulcimer section.
The music that people are hearing coming up under us right now is Steve, and I'm going to let it play for about a good 30 seconds before it ends.
I think I was scared. I remember I was scared that day, and I felt mad at you when we recorded it a little bit.
I think you have false memories of what actually happened. I don't even know if it was you. It might have been somebody else.
I think
maybe it's Aaron O'Rourke.
Aaron O'Rourke's actually. You probably brought him in.
No, I didn't. Oh, you think I brought him in and said, no, Steve could be better. I brought in all the dulcimer players like Steely Dan used to. Brought in everybody and went, no, that's not the solo I'm looking for. And Steve did his thing.
That's like in Star Wars when he said, these aren't the droids you're looking for.
Goodbye, everybody.
We'll see you later. Thanks. Adios.